All right, friends, welcome back. We've got some major developments piling up, and I want to start today in the UK, where the system is showing its cracks in truly bizarre ways. I used to be on the inside, working for one of those big, well-known media corporations. I saw firsthand how they spin narratives, how they twist the facts to fit the agenda. I had to walk away. Now I'm independent, I tell you what I really see, and I connect the dots on what truly matters. Before we dig in, if you value that independent perspective, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you're able, please consider becoming a channel sponsor. It's your support that keeps this voice alive and completely independent. I truly appreciate it. So, get this. There's an Albanian man, currently in the UK, who is being pursued by Italian authorities for, let's call it, illicit trade. He's already been sentenced to 5 years in an Italian prison, but he illegally entered the UK and is now telling British journalists with a straight face that he absolutely cannot be extradited back to Italy. And why? Because he claims the lack of hot water in Italian prisons violates his human rights. He also argues that the cells are too small, not meeting requirements, which prevents inmates from getting their physical exercise. Therefore, he says, they have no right to send him back to those unacceptable conditions. And, the absurd part is he might have a point about the conditions, even if his motive is just to escape justice. It's well known that prisons in Italy, and in France for that matter, are massively overcrowded. It's become one of the most acute social problems they've faced in recent years. You've heard me talk about this. The UK isn't much better. We know that Britain periodically has to use early release for prisoners simply to free up space in their own overflowing jails. It's a mess. And while they're debating hot water for convicted criminals, the British government has been busy trying and failing to lock up a well-known right-wing activist, Tommy Robinson. They have been pursuing him relentlessly for his political views, let's be honest about what it is. But it didn't work. The court just acquitted him. It seems that for all their efforts, the rapidly fading British Labour Party, under Keir Starmer's leadership, just can't seem to get a win. He knows this, he sees his ratings, but he can't seem to do anything about it. Now, moving over to the continent, the European Commission is waking up to a massive problem. They are planning a new package of measures aimed at restricting the circulation and production of illicit street substances across the entire European Union. The problem is growing so fast that they simply cannot pretend everything is fine anymore. Because of this, the Home Affairs Department at the European Commission is going to spearhead the development of a new strategy for these banned substances, along with a plan to combat trafficking. It seems they've decided it's finally time to act. The situation is getting dire. And in other EU news, we suddenly hear that Montenegro might join the European Union as early as 2028. This came from Antonio Costa, the president of the European Council. He announced that he sees a real chance for Montenegro to meet its ambitious goal and join the European community within the next 3 years. He actually said he believes Montenegro could become the 28th member of the EU in 2028. He said this loudly for the whole world to hear. But notice what he didn't say. He's completely silent about all the other candidate countries. Not even an approximate timeline has been named for anyone else. But hey, as you can see, Montenegro apparently has a shot. Meanwhile, over in Germany, the former CEO of Volkswagen and Porsche, Matthias Müller, just made an announcement that is genuinely frightening. He declared flat out that Germany is in a dangerous economic position. Yes, he said, deindustrialization is in full swing. We are currently experiencing massive job cuts, especially among suppliers. That's a direct quote from Müller during an interview. He emphasized that Germany's prosperity is declining as its economic power is lost. He warned that the division in society is only going to deepen, driven by failures in education, migration policy, and, of course, social and pension policies. The entire country, he says, is in a precarious position. That is a massive admission. Basically, everything now depends on the German government. Can they handle this or not? We are watching this very, very closely. By the way, if you're getting value from this breakdown, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel beat the algorithm. At the very same time, the German Foreign Minister, Johann Wadephul, is responding to growing criticism over his statements about Syria. He had previously claimed it's too early for Syrians to return home. Now, defending his position again, he repeated to everyone that Syria today looks worse than Germany in 1945, as if to say, what are they supposed to return to? But hold on. According to the UN's own data, more than 1 million people have already returned to Syria. And from Germany, only about 3,000 have gone home. There just isn't the same desire to return from Germany as there is from, say, Turkey. From Turkey, 550,000 Syrians have already returned home. We also just learned that Germany's Federal Ministry of the Interior is planning to pay Afghans who are currently waiting for German visas. They're going to pay them a cash reward if they voluntarily give up their right to enter Germany. This offer applies to about 600 people currently stuck in Pakistan. They are being offered a chance to voluntarily exit the relocation procedure, and in return, they'll get financial, material support for a new start in Afghanistan or another country of their choice. The ministry is blaming the deteriorating situation in Pakistan, saying Germany can't keep up with processing the applications, and the Pakistani government is threatening to expel the Afghans anyway. And since a court ordered the German government to fulfill its promises to accept these refugees, the ministry had to find an alternative. For example, under this proposal, a single woman could be paid €1,000 before leaving Pakistan, plus another €5,000 in startup aid for life in another country. For families, these amounts could be much, much higher. Now let's look at Poland. In the Polish city of Katowice, a massive trade union march just took place. The participants were demanding job security and support for industry in the region. They were trying to draw attention to the deteriorating situation in manufacturing and the instability across various sectors, from mining and metallurgy all the way to auto production. And at almost the exact same time, the leader of the right-wing Party for Freedom in the Netherlands, Geert Wilders, conceded defeat in the parliamentary elections. He congratulated the Left Liberal Party, Democrat 66, on their victory. According to Wilders, his party had a lead just last week, but the situation changed rapidly after the results from Amsterdam were announced, and critically after the count of votes sent from abroad. That's the key detail. The results are coming in from abroad, and as you know, this is a trend we have seen in other European countries as well. Now let's jump across the pond to the United States. We have new important reports. Republicans and Democrats still haven't agreed on a federal budget. This current shutdown is now likely to become the longest in history. And because of this shutdown, flights are being delayed and cancelled at airports. The FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, has been forced to slow down air traffic. This government freeze has left nearly 13,000 air traffic controllers working without pay, but not all of them are willing to do it. Many are calling in sick, which is making it harder and harder to maintain the flight schedules. Due to this controller shortage, the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, warned that the situation could get much worse. Duffy is warning that if the shutdown lasts another week, it could lead to mass chaos and force him to close parts of the national airspace entirely. Remember, this shutdown began back on October 1st. Senate Democrats are demanding an extension of tax credits for health insurance as a condition for their support, and they show no signs of backing down. But Republicans argue that this issue can be resolved later. They say they need to think about the American people, the local issues first. But as it turns out, the problems of the American people don't seem to concern the Democrats. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has warned residents of New York City against electing the Democrat Zoran Mamdani as the city's mayor. Trump has already threatened to cut federal funding to the metropolis if the city's residents choose Mamdani. According to Trump, Mamdani is a communist and will destroy New York. Now, the 34-year-old Mamdani openly calls himself a democratic socialist. His campaign platform includes raising taxes on the wealthiest residents, which, let's be honest, already sounds completely implausible, and expanding public housing. Of course, nobody expects him to actually follow through, especially since he himself comes from a very wealthy family. Today, there's also a lot of buzz about the passing of one of the architects of the Iraq War, former Vice President Dick Cheney. He was 84. Cheney, an incredibly influential VP under George W. Bush, was, as you know, a very active proponent of the invasion of Iraq. He openly supported the false assumptions that Baghdad possessed weapons of mass destruction. But as it turned out, that was just a pretext. The real motives were different. That's undeniable, and it certainly didn't surprise anyone. In the last election, Dick Cheney actually voted for Kamala Harris and was a pretty harsh critic of Donald Trump. But let's leave that complicated mess aside for a moment. Here's an interesting one. They are trying to ban marriage between humans and neural networks in the state of Ohio. A new bill would prohibit artificial intelligence from getting married, owning property, or performing the legal functions of a spouse. The authorities explain this initiative by saying the situation could get out of control as AI is developing so rapidly. And get this, according to one study, more than 20% of respondents admitted they had formed an emotional connection with a chatbot, and 3% called it their romantic partner. That's how fast the situation is changing. So, just to recap, we're seeing the UK government failing to lock up activists while simultaneously being told its prisons are too inhumane for foreign criminals. We have Germany's industrial base collapsing, the EU scrambling to control a substance crisis, a US shutdown threatening to ground air travel, and Ohio trying to ban people from marrying their computers. These are the informational updates for today, for right now, and they speak volumes. Write your opinion in the comments. Let me know what you think about everything that's happening. I wish you a peaceful sky. And as always, I urge you, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and if you have the means, please think about becoming a sponsor for the channel. It's the only way we keep this independent platform going. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.